pilgrims. I'm Rebecca Balcarcel, and I just came back from Spain, walking a Camino that went from Astorga to Santiago de Compostela. And it was great. However, I'm really glad that I did do a little bit of training first. So this video is about what I did to prepare to be walking 20, 25, even maybe more than that per day, kilometers per day. And how far is that? That's, it's like walking steadily at a good pace for 5 hours or so. That gets you about 20 kilometers down the road. Average person walks about 4 kilometers an hour, or if you're thinking in miles, about 3 miles an hour. So, 5 hours of walking gets you about 15 miles or 20 kilometers. And that's what you need to be able to do. Of course, on the Camino, it's not just level, it's uphill, it's downhill, especially in certain sections. So you need also to strengthen your knees if you can. You need to strengthen hips and gain flexibility if possible. So here's what I did. First, I was just kind of a normal daily walker of about a mile. And I would, take the stairs up to my office at work, and I would walk my little jogging trail every day. But it was pretty much, an hour at the most. And that was just my baseline level of fitness and routine. And I'm not an athlete, and I'm definitely not a doctor or physical therapist. So I'm just giving you my experience, and, you'll have to decide if this is helpful for you and how to adjust to suit your own body. But that was my level of starting, I watched my mile a day. I realized as I started to increase that I needed really excellent shoes, and I tried out several kinds of shoes, and I'll do another video about shoes, but you definitely want to be able to have room for your feet to spread apart. Your toes are going to need more room than usual. Heat and just the length of time that you're on your feet, it's going to make your feet swell. So I realized pretty quickly that my normal shoe size was not going to work for a Camino shoe. And even my mile walks were fine, but what I started to do was increase. So about a year before the actual Camino, I started walking more like 2 miles a day. And even in 2 miles, I could tell that my shoes were too small. So I started to experiment with, a half size bigger, a whole size bigger. I ended up at least, I want to say, a size and a half bigger by the time I actually bought my final Camino shoes that worked out great. But anyway, I went from my regular mile up to 2 miles a day. And then in the final about 2 months, maybe 3 months before my Camino, I started walking more like 6 miles a day. So I would do maybe 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening. Sometimes I would try to do all 6 at the same time to more simulate the Camino experience. Of course, on the Camino, you do have breaks because you'll come to an albergue or you'll come to a bar and you'll have some café con leche or some zumo, which is fresh squeezed orange juice, and you'll have a meal, and so that lets you recover a little bit before you set forth for the second part of the day or the third part of the day. But I did take it up a notch. So I went from my mile to about 2 miles, and then 8 to 12 weeks before my actual Camino, I scooted it up to 6 miles a day. And that worked okay. 6 miles is short. It's about 2 hours of walking. And on the Camino, you're walking more like 5 hours at a time, maybe 6, maybe 7. Or your day might be a whole 8-hour day that includes the breaks. But my 6 miles a day actually set up my feet and my endurance and everything to do just fine on the Camino. There were days I couldn't do my 6 miles. I had to actually skip, maybe because of weather or duties, So, it wasn't a perfect regimen that I was perfectly following, but my normal walk turned into a 6-mile walk, and that worked really well. And toward the end, I also was carrying my pack on those walks. So to walk with nothing is different than walking with your pack. And I started out walking with it empty, and then very soon I was adding the gear, and pretty quickly I just went ahead and loaded up the whole bag so that I would be able to get used to how it felt to carry the pack. And because of that training, I switched packs, and because of that training, I changed um, I changed out some gear to make it lighter and lighter and lighter. So I ended up, with a very light pack, and that helped with the walking. Another thing I did to prepare for the Camino physically is I lost 10 pounds. And I'm really happy about that. And I'm happy I'm keeping it off so far. Um, and, of course, there's a million weight loss plans out there. I did the 8 hours eating during an 8-hour window approach, and that worked for me. I think the increase in exercise probably helped things along as well. But I was able it probably took not a whole year, but it was very slow for those 10 pounds to come off. Um, in the last 6 months, I was very serious about it, and that helped. But it was very slow for me. But I felt like I was counting every little ounce as far as what would go in my backpack. And then here I was carrying, an extra 10 pounds on my body that's, stressing my joints and everything. So I wanted to lose some weight if I could. I didn't go crazy about it, but I did have a goal, and I did have a plan about my 8-hour window, and I did reduce things like sweets, and I increased things like protein, even though I'm vegetarian. But I ate an egg instead of cereal and things like that. So I did some weight loss. I did some walks, and longer walks with a pack eventually. It helped me figure out my pack, my shoes. It also helped me figure out water, like how much did I drink, and where did I store my water, and did I want like the bladder kind, or did I want bottles? So the training helped me figure out my gear. It definitely helped me figure out jackets and so forth as well. Do some of your training walking in the rain, in the sun. Go ahead and, put on the rain gear and test it, because you'll find out, how it works and what it feels like. There's no better way. So give it a true test. Also, I found a YouTube channel that I liked. It's called Chase Mountains, and the guy on Chase Mountains has a routine to help strengthen your knees for hiking. And I started doing his routine, and I got a lot more flexibility in my hips and my knees. My hamstrings were a lot less tight. I felt a lot more flexible, and I started truly doing those exercises only like maybe 2 months ahead, 3 months maybe, of the actual walk, and it really was good. Yes, I could tell I was less sore, I think, than I would have been. It helped reduce the pain, in fact, remove the pain completely that had been developing in my knees, just in my training walks. So as soon as I started to have some knee pain in my training walks, I sought out Chase Mountains and other exercises that would just help me have like hiker knees that would be able to sustain the up and the downhill and all of that. And I actually wrote down my knee exercises, and Chase Mountains also had like a pre-hike warm-up video. And so I wrote that down too. And every morning before I set out on the Camino, I would do my neck rolls and my, bending and so forth to get my body stretched out and kind of warmed up for the walk. And I think it really helped prevent injury and have a more comfortable walk. And there's no way to prevent just having sore feet and just being sore in general. And people do use ibuprofen. I took ibuprofen once, but other than that, I wasn't that sore. I was I was okay. Now my Camino was short compared to like the 5 week version of the Camino Frances, but the 12 days, yes, my feet hurt. Yes, my knees were tired, but I think the knee exercises and the stretching before the hike, plus all the training I had done, really helped me have a happier Camino and a more physically comfortable Camino. And I definitely didn't have to take like a lot of rest days or anything. I had like one day that was sort of a half day, and again, because I only had 12 days of walking, I didn't really need a full-on rest day, but I really had a much better experience than I would have had I not done any training or any exercises or the weight loss. So I hope this helps you prepare for your Camino. And if you go, enjoy it, and may you not need too much ibuprofen. All right, buen camino.